Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Cinemaffray. Today we are going to continue our bracket of the best since 95 tournament that we got going for March Madness. And it's going to be a pretty interesting bracket today. We're mixing things up here on the panel. So introducing first, Michael.
Hello.
And joining us today will be Gigi.
Hello.
So today we are going to break down 4 more matchups here in the best since 95 bracket. We're really excited to get this one going. Unfortunately, Tony could not join us today, so if any of his movies get voted off the island, apologies ahead of time. But we are going to go ahead and get this show on the road. So, coming in at number 6 here in our South bracket is The Truman Show, and number 11 is The Sixth Sense. Now, Tony voted to get The Sixth Sense in here. He is not here, so Michael, will you do the honor of presenting this movie for us here today?
I will take on the risk of glorifying M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, it was nominated for 6 Oscars. Let's keep this in mind.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead, man.
Oh, okay. So in The Sixth Sense defense on this bracket list, it is a good movie. It's M. Night Shyamalan's claim to fame. It's got a classic Shyamalan plot twist, so I won't spoil it for anyone, but basically it's about this guy who is being like a therapist, a counselor, whatever, to this kid who's like terrified of ghosts, and he keeps claiming he can talk to dead people. Hence the famous line, "I see dead people."
Right.
But it brought, I think, a wave of like new style into the 21st century in terms of how we write plot twists. And that, I mean, that's kind of like a cheesy statement, but it did like redefine in a lot of terms how intricate a storyteller would, or a screenwriter would tell a story with a big plot twist and a lot of detail undermining it. So, good movie. It belongs on this list fairly. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, I will go ahead and list some of its accolades that has going for it. So it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor in Supporting Role, Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Best Director, Best Writing for a Screenplay, written directly for the screen. So was adapted screenplay not around back in 1999?
Probably not.
Because it just says Best Writing for a Screenplay. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, the categories
otherwise.
Changed a lot for that in the last couple of years.
So, and then also Best Film Editing. So, I mean, it is definitely, you know, I always say no slouch, but it is not one. It's really strange how popular this movie is. So if we look at the IMDb score, it's at 8.1, but Metacritic score is only a 64. So pretty big gap there between the ratings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of M. Night Shyamalan. He is one of the most inconsistent directors I have ever seen. And we just talked about this before we started to air. We have The Sixth Sense, Split, Unbreakable, The Village, great movies. And then we have movies like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you're just like, well, that's basically it. You know, it's definitely, you know. I also said this before we started. Any movie that has Bruce Willis with hair, typically a good movie, and he has hair in this. But yeah, the famous line, "I see dead people," came from this. It was presented in the Great Movie Ride whenever that was around here at Disney. So
good times.
Yeah, TBT. But I voted to put the Truman Show in here, and I actually didn't see this until just a few months ago. Right at New Year's Day was the first time I saw this movie, and it just blew my mind. I think it was some of the best writing I have ever seen put to a screen. And Jim Carrey, I'm not sure if you would consider this a serious Jim Carrey because he's both dramatic and comedic in this, but in my mind, this is serious Jim Carrey before the world was ready for a serious Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah.
Because this is right after he had his big breakout. You know, he had a meteoric rise in Hollywood in the mid to late 90s. So it was pretty crazy, but it was also nominated for quite a few Academy Awards. It was Best Actor in Supporting Role, Ed Harris. Best Director, Peter Weir. Is it Weir or Wire? I don't want to pronounce that. Weir. And then Best Writing for a Screenplay again. And this, I think it's the same year that Sixth Sense was in there. No, it was the year prior to Sixth Sense.
Yeah, year before.
Yeah, so these movies came out around the same time, and you know, they aren't like, I don't want to say they're like decade-defining movies or anything like that, but you can tell they're very much 90s movies, you know?
Yes. Very much. I mean, Truman Show, I don't think as much.
No, that one I think is a classic. It could go, it doesn't matter what year it is, it can be presented. And I do want to say that, you know, there were Ed Harris and Jim Carrey both won at the Golden Globes for Best Performance by an Actor in a Motion Picture. And that was in the drama category. It wasn't even a musical or comedy category. And the score also won at the Golden Globes, which is something I didn't mention because the score is fantastic in The Truman Show. But I think the premise of this orphaned boy being brought up in this fictional world that they created for this television show, as the most popular television show ever, is such an interesting concept that, you know, it could very much be a real concept. You know, it's kind of like The Matrix, where people are watching you and it's like this, you're living a fictional life, but you feel like it's real. I think that's really, really interesting. And Truman Show just opened my eyes to a whole new type of writing style and, you know, way to view movies. So
I would agree.
Yeah. So, Gigi, do you have anything to say before we go to voting?
Not really.
Not really? Okay.
I have 1 minute, few words.
Well, I mean, Michael and I talked pretty extensively about each one, so there's not much left to be said for either. But Michael, you were the first one up to vote.
I'm gonna go with, even though I defended The Sixth Sense, I'm gonna go with The Truman Show, because I think, as I've said in previous episodes, that I look for things that kind of stand out and last a little longer, and I think that The Sixth Sense would go down as M. Night Shyamalan's, I guess, masterpiece, best work, whatever. But Truman Show, you don't really know just because of the director, you know, because of the star, and you know because of the story.
Yeah.
And so I have to go with Truman Show in this case.
Okay. So we got a vote for Truman Show. Gigi, you are up next. So, Truman The or The Sixth Sense?
The Sixth Sense. Jim Carrey is a good actor, but I don't like it when he does serious stuff. Because I really like his Grinch. And I basically think that he should just do Grinch 2.
What about his Count Olaf?
Oh, yeah, I forgot he did that. Because I think
Yes.
Neil Patrick Harris says that. But yeah, that was good too. I like his Johnny Depp-ish characters, I guess you would call them.
His more, I guess, crazier characters, like the ones that are
Yeah.
like the very much cartoonish characters.
And I'm a big fan of the horror genre, so The Sixth Sense is my vote.
Okie dokie.
Touché.
So it comes down to me. Now, yeah, Sixth Sense, that's another one that kind of redefined a genre. You mentioned the plot twist thing that M. Night Shyamalan, it's his signature thing to do now, but it wasn't really a concept as much back then as it is now. And I think people just don't do it as much because it is like his signature move. So if you do it, it's like, I don't know, plagiarism.
You're M. Night Shyamalaning.
Yeah.
Essentially. It's like an actual term, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure it is. I would not doubt it.
Before, I would think.
I really love The Sixth Sense, but like I said, The Truman Show is such a masterclass movie and so original, and the execution is by far one of the, best things in terms of cinema that I've seen. And this movie came out in '98. Like I said, I just saw it this year, and it's 20 years later that I saw this movie, and it just blew my mind. I love everything about this movie. It is become one of my favorites. That's why I put it in here. And Truman Show has my vote. So the Truman Show will be moving on to the next round of voting. So congratulations, Truman Show. You made it.
Yay.
Now, pardon me. Let's see what seed it is. Our third seed, The Departed, is up against the 14th seed, Inglorious Bastards.
The what against the what?
The Departed versus Inglorious Bastards. Do you need your hearing aid?
Yes. Let me turn it all the way up for you youngins.
All right, Michael, you did it again.
I did it again.
You have control of this one. And
Oh, I thought it was a movie about the dead.
All right. Well, I should just jump into that one.
It's misleading. It says The Departed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Please
because
stop.
it's about The Departed. How do I
Please stop.
begin to explain? So
She's voting last this time. So she's
okay, good. So The Departed and Inglorious Bastards are both my picks. The Departed is weirdly a movie that I saw only like 2 years ago. Like I had heard so many good things and so many great actors in it. You've got Matt Damon, you've got Mark Wahlberg, you've got Jack Nicholson, of course. There's that old guy. That's not
Scorsese?
Yeah, I mean Scorsese directed.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen, that's it. Vera Farmiga, Alec Baldwin was in this. Just so many good actors. But I mean, it's a great
You didn't
story.
even mention
It's
Leo.
oh god, Leo, duh. Leonardo DiCaprio was in this movie.
What's so weird is that I think of Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg almost as the same people sometimes.
They are the same person.
They are in spirit. But Martin Scorsese directed this, and he's one of those people that always sticks to his guns. He's like, this is my style and this is my movie. And this was kind of his weird comeback movie. I mean, he had gotten nominated for like The Aviator,
which we just got rid of in the last round.
yeah, which we trashed in the last round. Awful. He got wow, that's a lot.
It won
Hold
4
on.
Oscars.
Sorry, I'm going as director. The Aviator did win a few Oscars.
No, I'm talking about The Departed. The Departed won
Oh,
four
The Departed,
Oscars.
yeah.
Best. It
But
was
that
the
was
best
it.
motion picture. Of
Like
the
he
year.
did some show, literally one episode of American Masters. I don't know what that was. Something about Bob Dylan, but that was like his only work in 2005, and I guess he like put all his effort into The Departed, and it really paid off as this great like crime, South Boston gang whatever kind of movie. It's this slow but steady but awesome film that kind of captured his usual gang elements. It was like gangs of New York in present day with a few more twists and blah blah blah. So overall, I mean, what were the awards that it got?
Oh, it won Best Motion Picture, Best Achievement in Directing, Best Writing for Adapted Screenplay, Best Achievement in Film Editing. It won those four, but it was not. But Mark Wahlberg was nominated for Best Actor in Supporting Role, but he did not win that year.
Yeah, whatever. Mark Wahlberg. That's fantastic. Okay, I didn't even know it won all those, so that's cool. And the other film here is Inglorious Bastards, my favorite Tarantino film. And it's like, I think we talked about this before. We talked about Django, right?
Yeah, we've talked about Tarantino quite a bit in this, and how we didn't give him as much credit as he probably should get, but he has like 2 or 3 movies in our bracket, so he got enough.
Yes, he got enough. And Inglorious Bastards is no small measure of his work. He like, if somebody like approached any director in Hollywood and said, "Can you make a World War II movie?" Quentin Tarantino would be like the last person you'd approach. But he totally like nailed. He took it above and beyond. He was like, okay, well, I'm gonna take everything bad about World War II, make it a joke, but then in my usual Tarantino style, I'm gonna also bring it back to a serious note at some point. And he like perfected. I mean, he nailed the Holocaust he talked about, which should not be talked about in a movie like this, but it was brought in a weird, like a weird revenge style sense. And he brought in, Nazism, American, not only like American war effort, but like American and other allied armies, allied nations, like brutality during the war. And he just kind of threw them all together and made this fantastic film about, I guess, what would be considered Quentin Tarantino's World War II movie. Like, that's how you sum it up. You're like, this is Tarantino's World War II movie. Because every great director has to have that war movie.
Well, I don't really have much more to say aside from that.
Did it get any awards?
It won one.
Oh,
award.
It did win.
Yeah,
it won one for Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
It got nominated for, God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 awards. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's it's strange that it didn't win more. I'm not sure it came out in 2010 though, or 2009 into 2010, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it got nominated for all the big awards. Well, not all of them, but I mean, it got nominated for Best Motion Picture, Best Director,
quite a few, yeah.
Writing, cinematography, editing, and then sound mixing, sound editing's in there, but whatever.
I mean, that was a pretty good year overall. I mean, you had The Hurt Locker, which won a lot of things. Avatar,
yeah,
District
which
9,
we didn't put
which
in
is
here.
District 9. I didn't put in here.
Up in the Air, which was in here. I didn't put The Blind Side in here. Up was nominated. Up was nominated for Best Motion Picture of the Year.
Yes,
I thought it was. Was that before the animated? No, animated feature was around back then. What the heck?
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
That's how good Up was.
Yes. But yeah, there was a lot of big name movies that year. I think that was the kind of end of the tumble there, and then we got those 3-4 years of just nonsense spewing out of Hollywood.
So Up was nominated for Best Animated Feature of the Year and Best Feature of the Year. God, Disney. I mean, it was in there with Coraline, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Princess and the Frog.
Oh, great movies.
Okay, so
God.
I guess this was a better year than I thought it was. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I look at it, it's like, wow. But, you know, Precious was in there. Gosh, good year. But, you know, I mean, I don't really have much else to... You've covered just about all the bases with those, I feel like.
Yeah, I tried.
And who voted? Who was the last person to vote? Oh, is it me? I think it's me.
Yes.
Gosh, I don't know. I do think that this is one of Tarantino's best films. I mean, maybe Pulp Fiction's up there for me. But it's... Which Pulp Fiction didn't get in here because it just barely missed the 95 cutoff.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Departed was just... Scorsese's just a genius as a director. He's so good, and it had a truly incredible cast. Not to say that the Inglorious Bastards didn't, but whenever you got Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, Mark Wahlberg, Martin Sheen, Vera Farmiga, Anthony Anderson, Alec Baldwin. You know, I just...
Yeah.
I just really think that the performances in The Departed may have lifted it up above Inglorious Bastards for me, so my vote will be for The Departed. And it just comes down... Like, the stories were great. And, you know, I love Tarantino. He is... we've covered how we love him so much on this, but I'm going to give this one to Scorsese. Yeah, pretty much. All I got to say about that. It also won more Oscars. Just saying. The accolades help as well. But, Michael, you would be up next to vote.
Okay, I'm not upset no matter which one wins. But I'm gonna stick to my favorite Tarantino movie and say Inglorious Bastards. Because I think it brings something new to the table in terms of war movies, and I think it changed a lot of subjects. Whereas The Departed, which was a great movie, it did play into those gang films that Scorsese is known for, and kind of came out of the late 20th century. And it plays on a lot of styles and kind of brings it up to speed for sure in terms of modern times. But I think that Inglorious Bastards holds the best value to me. So that's my vote.
You know, I'm looking back and I just keep going for these crime films. Whenever I vote, I didn't ever realize how much I cared for crime films until...
You should write some crime.
It's
the next move,
crime.
right?
Ah, man. Yeah, but I don't want to write something with guns and all this other stuff in it because then you have to edit it a lot.
Like Shanks.
Shanks, yes, a jail film. Anyway. Gigi, you have to vote one of these guys off the bracket. So Departed or Inglorious Bastards. You choose.
I'm going to vote for The Departed based on star power and, you know, if you know how to do something well, you might as well stick to it, you know?
Okay. Simple enough.
All right. Cool.
She is a woman of few words.
I really am. Oh my god, if you think about it.
You are only on the podcast. Otherwise, she talks constantly.
No, this is actually the most I've talked today.
Oh, that's true. Well, we can't talk about that on the air. But yeah, that's so. Yeah, so The Departed moves on. It is top rated. It's the number 48 movie of IMDb. So that it's a highly rated movie. And I'm not sure where Inglorious Bastards was in that. It's number 96. So IMDb also voted for The Departed. So yeah, there we go. Well, this is just the case that keeps happening with you, Mike. You have your people just keep on going up against one another. So
Kill my darlings. Yep.
Dun, 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 one that I know about.
yes, you hear Gigi singing. We're about to go into the Disney portion of this contest.
I'm somewhat of an expert on Disney movies, but it's fine.
So we have the number 7 seed, Coco, going up the number 10 seed, Moana. I put Coco in here, but Gigi, would you like to talk about Moana since Tony's not here?
Sure.
If you don't want to talk much, we can defer it to one of us.
No, I'll do it because she's one of my favorite princesses. Basically, Moana is a really good coming-of-age story about a princess who don't need no man, or a sister. And
or coconuts. She doesn't need the coconuts.
No, you have to consider the coconut. So basically, it's your typical Disney princess film, but it was very different from the ones that we've seen in the past. Because, you have your Cinderella, your Sleeping Beauty. They're all the classic damsel in distress. I mean, even Frozen, which people claim to be so progressive and whatever, Anna was still a damsel in distress, let's be real.
Right.
Moana, however, she is an independent 16-year-old girl. I believe she's 16, because that's when she's able to beat the chief of the village. And she has to go on this quest, basically, to return the heart of Te Fiti to the island to bring it back to life, because the fishing's getting scarce and the trees are dying and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So,
right.
Moana has to save the world, and she does. And she does it with song.
She does do it with song. That is what she is best at.
Disney's never done that before.
I still can't explain it correctly, but it's fine.
I enjoyed Moana quite a bit. But for whatever reason, I'm looking at it now, it did win Best Animated Feature that year. Oh, Zootopia did.
Yeah,
that's
and it
right.
also didn't win song. La La Land did.
Yes, that's right.
Thank God.
Which was, that was a jip, let's be real.
Oh my gosh.
My dad lived in
Stop it.
Again, it's how it's used in the movie. We talked about this with This Is Me.
That was her song. That was her part of
Think
the
of how
love
City
song.
of Stars affected La La Land, though.
So? Over
the course of the movie.
They could have chosen a better song from La La Land, and then it would have been justified.
Anyway. I chose Coco. And I understand, like, I chose a couple recent movies from last year. This one I chose because I believe it is one of Pixar's very best movies that they've ever done. And there's multiple reasons, aside from the family aspect of it, and this is kind of like another coming of age story, in a sense. But it really, how do I put this? It was a very beautiful film. It was written in a way where I said this to, I think, each of you whenever I initially saw it. It's predictable, but it kept me invested the whole way through. Which, usually whenever I find a movie predictable, I just don't care anymore. But it kept me invested because of how they wrote the trials that they had to go through in this movie and the obstacles that were in their path. The music was fantastic. It really immerses you in a culture, and for us, this isn't my culture. I don't celebrate Dia de los Muertos. Got it out there. The Day of the Dead. I don't celebrate that. And to me, for me to care about the entire culture in this movie, to care about the the all the pictures on the
Ofrenda?
The Ofrenda, yes, thank you. To care about all these aspects of the culture that I previously knew very little about, even though I took 5 years of Spanish, and I just didn't care, but it made me care a lot throughout this movie. The stories that were happening in the real world and in the on the other side of the bridge on the land of the dead. I thought it was beautifully told, and it won 2 Oscars for Best Original Song this past year, and also for Best Animated Feature. Both were pretty predictable. The original song which we were just talking about with Moana versus La La Land. People were very upset that it won Best Original Song, but you gotta look at how "Remember Me" was used throughout the movie. It was, whenever you think of an original song for a film, you gotta think of how it's used within the film, in the cinema, and the story that the song tells for the greater story
With
in the
both
movie.
of those songs, they become the theme of the movie, which is probably why they win, because they're reoccurring.
Exactly, they are the theme of the movie, and you think of Grandma Coco with "Remember Me." You think of everybody in the Land of the Dead, in the Ofrenda and everything. "Remember Me" matters in a greater sense.
Yeah, I co-sign that.
And not just in a sense of how De La Cruz used it, where it was a big showboat thing and it was kind of like a love song.
Right.
Which technically is still a love song, but not in the same sense. But like I said, I think this is one of Pixar's best movies. It got Robert, what's his name? Robert Lopez. He just got his double EGOT because of this movie.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What?
Yeah, he won. This was his second Oscars, but he's won a double EGOT. This second one. Yeah, I know. It's incredible. So, I just think in terms of animated feature, this one is just it takes the cake for me. Michael, do you have anything to say about either one of these movies?
They're both charming Disney films. And I think they brought a lot to the table, both of them. I had not bad experience. I didn't have the full theater experience going into either of these. Moana I saw on a projector screen with no audio for the first 20 minutes.
That would ruin the movie.
Yes, and I despised the movie for the longest time. Thank God that chicken was in the movie, because I would have hated it.
Alan Tudyk is a genius.
Yes. And then Coco I actually watched on your guys' couch. Illegally.
Not exactly the best quality.
No, not the best quality. But it is, if nothing else, determined me to, when the next Disney Pixar movie comes out, to just go to the theater and see it.
Yeah, you gotta suck it up at some point, brother.
I gotta. I mean, I think the last one I actually saw in theaters was Zootopia, but
was that Pixar though?
No, that was just Disney.
Animation.
Such a good movie though.
Yeah, and that's a whole another experience at the movies. But anyway, yeah, these are both. They're both good movies. They both kept up, and I think they've culturally added a lot. In the last 2-3 years they've been around.
Yeah.
Both of them have The Rock in it.
What are you talking about?
So Moana has The Rock, and Coco had a rock in it. Just one in the cave.
Wouldn't every movie have The Rock in it then?
I can't stand you.
Pretty sure that they go through a rock.
I did have a small issue with Coco because whenever De La Cruz looks up from whenever he's drinking his alcohol, his eyes are the exact same eyes that Maui has. If you put them side by side, it's the exact same animation.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but how many different Disney movies do that?
Oh yeah, a lot of them do. My issue is, it's hard to tell between Pixar and Disney now, and there's supposed to be a difference. There is.
They do have a cookie cutter formula.
Yeah, there used to be a huge difference, and it's
Right.
becoming thinner and thinner now.
That's because they're getting away from hand-drawn animation.
Yeah, hand-drawn animation 2D is not a thing anymore, and that breaks my heart. But Gigi, you are up to vote first.
Oh, this is a really hard one because these are two of my favorite movies of all time.
Well, get going. Kill one of them.
I saw Moana 8 times, and I saw Coco 8 times, both in the theater. Like a billion times.
You've used a lot of money.
Yeah, I know. I have a problem. Stop. Before I say my answer, I thought of another common thing that they both have.
What?
Both grandmothers are voiced by the same person.
Oh, is Grandma Tala and Grandma Coco are voiced by the
It's
same
like
person?
99.9%.
I will look that up. I don't believe that for a second.
want proof.
Let's see here. I got her credits. I got Grandma Coco's credits here.
Jesus, calm down.
Yeah, no, she was not in Moana. No.
What?
Grandma Coco's only been in...
Somebody shares a voice with Moana's grandmother in this movie.
Okay. Well, then I will check with Grandma Tala's credits. Rachel House. Was she in Coco? No, she was not in Coco. She was in Thor.
The internet lied to me. Oh my god, she was.
Anyway.
Sorry.
We stalled as long
as
as...
tiebreaker.
Nope, you're up to vote first. You have to... That would be harder for you because then you actually would be putting one to sleep. Whereas us, we would have... It's going to be Michael that chooses or I that choose. So, make your decision. We have stalled long enough.
I'm going to have to go with Coco because I wanted to go through the entire thing because it is that good.
Okay.
It has a developed story. It flows more. Watching Moana on like the 8th or 5th time, it does drag in the middle. And Coco does not drag.
Okay.
Coco.
Coco.
Okay.
I feel like I literally just killed off one of my children.
Well, I'm also going to vote for Coco, mainly because whenever I watch Moana, it was like our first date that we watched Moana.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was drawing.
Did I ruin it for you?
No, I drawed comparisons the whole time. I was like, well, that's very Mulan. That's very Lion King. That's very,
that's because you don't go into a movie just to enjoy it. You originally go in to critique it, and you need to stop that.
Well, whatever. Coco didn't remind me of another Disney movie. Coco was very genuine, very original movie. And that's why it has my vote in this. Michael, you don't have to. I mean, you can put your input out there, but we have already. Coco has been crowned the winner of this round, but who have you chosen?
I think I would have gone with Coco. Just for, like you said, it did feel different from their usual cookie cutter formula more than anything. As opposed to, I remember Moana I was watching and I was like, I remember it was different, but it was still a Disney movie. Mm-hmm. But I remember Coco, watching Coco, it felt a little off from their usual storytelling method. So Coco, I would say.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, and Oscar Isaac did present the Oscar for this. So Oscar presented the Oscar for Coco. I'm just saying.
Stop it.
I love him.
Yeah, he did say Viva la Mexico.
I love a gay spaceman.
Yeah. So Coco moves on to the next round. Congratulations, Coco. You deserved it.
Wow. Awesome.
Now this next round.
This is the most bizarre matchup I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, this is strange. And it doesn't even feel right how it was seated, but I have to give the seedings how they're presented. The number 2 seed, Toy Story 3, versus the number 15th seed, Pan's Labyrinth.
Why?
There's nothing that is... I don't think there's ever going to be anything throughout these brackets that's going to be so dissimilar from these two than this. I mean, that this is just silly.
Mm-hmm.
They're both super highly rated in the IMDb categories and in
Mm-hmm.
Metacritic and popularity, the whole nine. So, Michael, go ahead. You put Pan's Labyrinth in here. Go try to explain that one.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to say before, like, no matter what happens, since Coco has moved on, this would be either, so in the next round, it would be either two Pixar films against each other or two Spanish films against each other,
Ah,
which is
culture.
awesome.
Look at us not being
But anyway,
swine.
Pan's Labyrinth. So Pan's Labyrinth can now be described as Guillermo del Toro's World War II film, in some way.
Yeah.
It brings it, yeah, in a way, in a very weird way. So it's essentially this fairy tale, dark fairy tale that brings in all this old mythological culture into the story of this young girl who's, I guess, forced into a situation, a warlike situation, where her stepfather is a general in the Spanish army. I want to say is the Spanish Civil War or Spanish War.
In Spain of
Yeah.
1944, it would have been yeah.
World War II era. And she's forced into this situation where she's living in hiding essentially with her stepfather, who's a general, and her mother, who is pregnant with a child who is basically like the subject matter of this story. The heart of this story is this innocent child versus this very aggressive and just downright evil general who is the father of the child. And the little girl is trying to do things to get rid of him. And she follows this weird, I don't know how it happens, but fairy tale Pan, essentially, the god Pan. And
This ram-looking alien.
I mean, the
I
makeup
love
design,
Krampus.
the makeup design and the storytelling for Pan's Labyrinth, it not only marked Guillermo del Toro's significance as a director, but I think it also brought, it was one of those films that again brought that foreign culture and foreign filmmaking into the American audience, and it did a great job of telling what was just downright bizarre and these concepts that you would never imagine together, and it made it flow extremely well between this mythological setting and this war setting. And I think it's, even though Shape of Water has now won Best Picture, I think it's still Guillermo del Toro's best work to date.
It's definitely his most defining work.
Yes. And it has a huge impact on his future work.
Oh yeah,
in terms
definitely.
of how he goes about making films.
I would like to mention that it was nominated for six Oscars, and it won 3 of them. It won for cinematography, achievement in art direction, achievement in makeup, and it was nominated for original screenplay, music written for original score, and best foreign language film. And so it didn't win those it didn't win the original screenplay, the score, or the foreign language film, but it was nominated. It won the other ones. So that's a huge achievement. Obviously, it's such a strange movie.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, it definitely is.
Best way to put it. I put in Toy Story 3. And I put it in here because I don't think people would argue this, but I think Toy Story may be the best trilogy of all time. Like think about it. Like you
Better than Star Wars?
think about the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, better
Mm-hmm.
than the original Star
I
Wars trilogy?
I think I would put Toy Story above.
Arguably, yes.
It's arguable. Yeah, it's all subjective.
Yeah,
How
but I'm
Mhm.
right.
but New Hope is boring if you go back and watch it.
Yeah.
While that's a huge culture shock movie. It was
That shadow on the wall looks like Darth Vader.
okay. Well, I don't disagree with that, but I like I said, I think Toy Story may be one of the greatest trilogies of all time. I
One
chose
of.
yes, one of. I chose Toy Story 3 because it was the perfect wrap up movie. Of course, they decided to do Toy Story 4. I'm still not on board with that, but whatever. Um, it won 2 Oscars. It won for Best Animated Feature of the Year and Best Achievement and Best Original Song.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also nominated for Best Motion Picture of the Year. It was also nominated for Best Achievement in Sound Editing and Best Writing and Adapted Screenplay. What was it adapted from? That's my question. Is it not original? I guess
Is it? Is it adapted from Toy Story? Can movies be adapted from movies?
I guess it would be a sequel, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Tell us, world. Leave comments.
Reveal your secrets to us.
And this is another one that's one of Pixar's, I think, crowning achievements because this came out shortly after they did Cars 2. They did, or maybe this was before Cars 2. Regardless, Cars 2 was around this time. Planes was around this time. So
It was
we
a
did
bad
have.
time.
There was a little bit of a lull in Pixar. There was. And I think Toy Story 3 is one of those that sticks out for Disney as a whole during this time. 2010, the movies that came around that time were The Princess and the Frog, still a good movie. Tangled, a movie that I probably should put in here. But
Yes.
because that is probably one of their that is probably the best I think princess movie or one of definitely better than that Frozen nonsense. But it tells a beautiful story about how we outgrow things, but it doesn't mean that they didn't affect our lives and they're always going to be with us.
Oh, I thought you were still talking about Tangled for a second. I was like,
No. I'm talking about
I
Toy
was
Story.
really thinking really deep into it, but like, yeah, you're right.
No, I'm talking about Toy Story 3. How Andy has to give up his toys, who have been a
Right.
big part of his life,
Mm-hmm.
his entire life, and But my thing is, like, has he been playing with these toys for the past few years, like through high school? Like,
I would not bet.
No, they were in the box.
they were in the box. That's right. So
But for how
he forgot about them.
Yeah.
Do you think they knew that though?
that he forgot?
Oh man, there's a whole other
Well,
side
because
to this
isn't it
movie.
the Pixar theory they can't
He
come
would-
alive without the energy.
Yeah, there's some kind of weird pic. I don't know. Ask John Negroni or whatever his name is. But he follows me on Twitter.
He unfollowed you.
Oh, he did. Forget about it. But no, I think it's in terms of just really good storytelling to wrap up what should have been a wrap up to the series. This did it. It doesn't matter who you were. People were bawling their eyes out at this movie because
Yeah.
it was like watching your last Harry Potter film or whatever. It's a end of a chapter for us, and I think this kind of kickstarted the next phase for Disney and Pixar. They started coming
Yeah.
out with different films, and granted they're going back into like this sequel era in
They're trying to get all of
Pixar.
our money because we're all
but-
old enough now.
Yeah, they're good. Their nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I'm gonna coin that phrase and put it on the podcast, because I think I say it once an episode. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know what more I can say about it. Gigi, do you have anything to say about either one of these?
Yeah, I'll co-sign Toy Story 3. I haven't seen the other film, to be honest. And the poster, it looks like Krampus before he goes into hibernation for Christmas.
Well, it's a
with his
beautifully made
children.
film.
It's a
I'm
good
sure
movie.
It is. I don't doubt it. But
Muy grande.
like you said, Toy Story 3 is that perfect wrap-up movie, and if it does suck that they're trying to bring Toy Story 4 because they could have done something in the way of maybe a TV show or something like that where they took all the new toys that we got introduced to in the third film, and we see them in what's her name? Bonnie's room.
Yeah.
Because that would be nice, and I hope.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get Tom Hanks and Tim Allen to do a TV show. Well, maybe Tim Allen, but you won't get Tom Hanks to do a
they don't
TV
need to
show.
do that. But I mean, you got Barbie and Ken, you have the aliens, the potato heads, stuff like that. Like, there's more characters that we care about other than Buzz and Woody.
Yeah, I mean, you could get Joan Cusack.
Yeah, she will do anything. Let's be real.
Joan Cusack and Tim Allen probably could. They could do, because, I mean, Jesse and Buzz Lightyear were a couple anyway. They could do a spin-off thing.
I just hope that they incorporate.
I mean, this next one's like the Adventures of Bo Peep, or they're gonna find Bo Peep or something like that.
Right. I just hope that they incorporate.
My lack of caring.
Trixie and all them into the new Toy Story Land.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Right. Well, it's in Toy Story Land. That's in Andy's backyard.
Well,
so.
right. But these toys still, for the most part, Barbie and Ken at least, or I guess just Barbie.
Just Barbie.
I mean, it's also a fourth movie, so that means they have to bring a villain back.
Right.
Right.
So if I don't see Stinky Pete or Zurg or Lotso, Hug and Bear, I'm going to be very upset.
But, well, would the villain be whoever has taken Bo Peep? Oh, wait.
It's Ham.
Stop. Ham's dead.
It's Zurg.
No, he's not.
Didn't the actor for Ham die?
Maybe the actor did, but...
Am I wrong? I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Don't quote
honestly.
me.
You can look it up.
But,
Fact check. If he's
No,
the
John
one
Ratzenberg's still alive.
Okay.
I was thinking of somebody else.
You're thinking of Radcliffe's voice?
I don't know. It doesn't
He
matter.
just passed this week.
But who votes first?
You do.
Oh, no, I don't. Gigi does, because she voted first last time.
Yeah.
So you vote first, don't you, Michael? Yeah, you vote first.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Hit us with your best shot. We'll see if we like
I am voting first. You know what? Pan's Labyrinth. It's Pan's Labyrinth. It is not held up well over the years in cultural terms, but I think it will outlive in a critical sense. And that's nothing against Toy Story 3, because I think it's also doing the same thing. But Guillermo del Toro is a whole different ballgame, and I think he doesn't have as big as an IMDb list as Disney and Pixar do quite yet, or never will. So Pan's Labyrinth is going to stick for me.
Okay. Gigi, your choice now?
I'm gonna go with Toy Story 3 just because, that's the one I've seen, that's the one I know.
Yeah.
It would feel wrong to pick something other than what I know.
Okay.
Simple.
This one is hard for me. Because I'm not a fan of Del Toro. So, I haven't really been a fan of his work, but after watching Pan's Labyrinth, I appreciated it a little bit more. And, I said that Coco was Pixar's best film in the past decade or so, or one of their best films ever. So, that being said, I don't need to have a Pixar versus Pixar matchup because I know who would win. And so I'm going to put Pan's Labyrinth up. Pan's Labyrinth will move on. And I think it's going to be a good discussion for culture versus culture instead of Pixar versus Pixar. It would be a better discussion later on anyway. I'm pretty much have already decided who I'll be voting for in that round, but I'm really interested to see what the discussion as a whole will be, no matter who we have on the podcast. If it's Gigi, Tony, If I have to pull an alternate in here, doesn't matter. I'm really
Challenge accepted. That's all I gotta say.
What do you say?
Challenge accepted.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm really interested to see where we go in this next round. But that'll be it for this round of voting. So everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this round of voting. If you guys would like to listen to our podcast, obviously you're listening to us on some kind of podcast app or YouTube. So be sure to subscribe on any of those apps. Give it a like, show your friends, share it on Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth, to try to get the word out there. We love having the chance to speak on movies and stuff like that, reach a different market, things like that. And yeah, so to kind of do a quick recap of this episode, The Truman Show moved forward, beating The Sixth Sense. The Departed moved forward, correct? Yes. Departed moved forward, beating Inglorious Bastards. Coco moved forward, beating out Moana. And Pan's Labyrinth beat Toy Story 3. Be sure to check back next week as we cover Whiplash versus Drive, The Descendants versus Saving Private Ryan, Rogue One versus Get Out, Spider-Man 2 versus Fight Club. So we got a few more of those bigger budgeted movies in there, a few indie darlings, a Spielberg cameo. And for next week, looking forward to that one. And yeah, so thank you guys for joining me. Gigi, thank you for joining me.
Anytime.
And Michael, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And from all of us here at Cinemaffray and South by Midwest, we will see you next time.